You want to bring them the most value.
Welcome to the Service to Syndication Podcast, where we interview the biggest and most successful real estate entrepreneurs, investors, capital raisers in the world who have worn the uniform of this great country, those who provide services to our men and women in uniform, and other service-oriented professionals to provide you with the tool sets, the mindsets, and the skill sets to help you conquer your dreams and goals in real estate and to use this wealth creation vehicle so you can live a more successful, happy, and fulfilled life of generosity and prosperity. If what you desire is time, lifestyle, and financial freedom, you've come to the right place. We will bring to you the best real estate entrepreneurs who will give you the insights, the knowledge, experience, skills, so you can go out and crush it in whatever real estate asset class you desire. So grab a pencil and paper, sit back, and enjoy the ride on the Service to Syndication Podcast.
Hello, my servicemen and women and other service providers. Welcome to another episode of the Service to Syndication Real Estate Podcast. I am your host, Cedric Marlow. Here on the Service to Syndication Real Estate Podcast, we interview the most successful real estate entrepreneurs, investors, capital raisers in the world, where most have donned the uniforms of our great country. We aim to provide the tool sets, the mindset, and skill sets for you to achieve your personal and business goals while using real estate as a wealth creation vehicle to help you live a more happy and fun-filled life. I am super excited today because I have with me top-notch broker, Mr. Joe Killinger. But before I properly introduce our exciting guest to you, as always, I want to ask a favor of you. If you get some value out of this interview, if you get some type of insight, mindset shift, if you learn a new skill, receive inspiration or motivation to go out and make some progress in your life, please share this episode with some of your friends. Send it to someone you know who might be or could be interested in real estate. Share it in your social media and post it on your wall. Help us spread our message while you help others. And for all of you who shared this episode, I want to say thank you. Again, everyone, I have with me Mr. Joe Killinger. He is a real estate entrepreneur, syndicator, investor, and founder who's built and scaled multiple companies to 8-figure revenue. With 30 plus years in real estate and involvement in over 6,500 asset transactions totaling over 950 million. Joe brings real world experience across nearly every facet of the industry, from deal sourcing and syndication to marketing, operations, and content strategy. He's also grown 3 real estate companies to over 5 million in revenue within their first 18 months without outside funding. But Joe doesn't stop there. He's also the force behind multiple businesses, including CBI Commercial Real Estate, ICRE Team, CRE Affiliate, and JoeKillinger.co, which is a content hub for agents and investors. All right, Joe. Well, first off, welcome. The thing that I like to do with my guests is have them kind of walk us through their real estate journey in 75 seconds or less. And we'll start to unpeel all of that.
75 seconds or less. All right, I can do this. I started off in a real estate auction company in Los Angeles. And I started off in the marketing department there. And since we got to keep this short, they did an IPO, got caught fudging some numbers in the IPO, ended up doing layoffs. I was one of the layoffs. But the guy that laid me off is my now business partner, George Pino. He's a CEO of our commercial brokerage company. I make him pay every day for laying me off 30 years ago. So it's been a long 30 years for him. But then we ended up launching an investment company. We started doing some investment in multifamily around Los Angeles and eventually moved that on to Texas. Multifamily, we'd buy, fix, and hold. And then we launched Commercial Brokers International in the mid-90s and actually late 90s. And we've been going ever since. We also have Icon Capital Advisors, a commercial real estate mortgage company, and we have Commercial Real Estate Affiliate Network. It's a group of independent brokers that are around the country that work together that kind of gives them the opportunity to compete against the major firms like the CBREs, the JLLs of the world. And the reason we did that is we bring clients in for Commercial Brokers International that want to expand across the U.S. And before we had the Commercial Real Estate Affiliate Network, we couldn't do that. We had to give those clients up. So we thought we need to be a little smarter about this. During COVID, we didn't have a whole lot to do. So we built the commercial real estate affiliate network. And now we have 26 members strong across the U.S. I think we're adding somebody new on Tuesday as well. So we're growing and deals are going back and forth. And we've got multiple international clients going through the process there.
All right, Joe. So take us back. What was the moment or deal that made you realize that real estate was going to be your lifelong career?
It was, so I grew up on a working farm in Nebraska, and my dad was becoming an auctioneer as I was growing up. So my mother and I were running, it was a very small farm in a very small town in central Nebraska, a town of 280 people, if you can imagine. But when he started getting into the auction business, he also was trying to do some real estate as well. And I was listening to him talk about real estate, and it always just kind of fascinated me. Now, mostly this was focused on farmland, which I don't really even touch now, but it was just very interesting to me. And it just kind of set a bug in me that real estate is where I think I can and really create my most value. Yeah, because I just have a lot of passion about it. And I still love it to this day, just as much as I did back then. So and then as far as a deal that happened, I would say when George and I we had a company that we were running for another individual called the Sands Group. We were broke. I had like $1,200 in my name. George had about the same, complete insanity that we weren't going and getting jobs, but we just knew that we were going to get something going, which I don't ever recommend to anybody now. I said, if I went broke, I was moving back to Nebraska with no job. And my family was now living in a different town and in a one-bedroom apartment. So I don't know there was no plan. But I knew I had to get it done. So I had this one client I just kept calling almost daily. It was Freddie Mac. And I was trying to get them to give us an auction. And one time, about 8 months into it, this lady called and she goes, "Okay, hotshot, I'm going to give you a chance. And I'm going to give you 60 units. I will never forget I can tell you exactly where I was when I got that phone call. And I still don't know how this woman got this. It was on a brick phone.
Okay.
She called my friend's brick phone in his car and asked for me. And he goes, "The phone's for you." And so I get it. And she said, "Okay, hotshot, I'm going to give you a chance." And we did, after that, about 600 to 700 properties a year for them for 5 years. So that really set the tone for us. But that was being persistent. I was a little over the top with the persistence because I was calling. I just figured I have everything to gain and nothing to lose.
Right.
So it was a little bit of desperation. And I always remind people now, don't get yourself into that situation like I did, because I had about a month's rent left, food. I was living on macaroni and cheese, the box stuff.
Yeah.
It was terrible. I still can't stand the smell of that stuff, but that was really the game changer for us and really set a path. And we'd never really done an auction. So we had to really learn how to do an auction, because after George laid me off, I went to another company and we started, it was a startup auction company, and he had called after he got laid off. So what's out there? So you can come partner with me. We'll just do everything 50-50 and we'll grow this company. And we became the number 2 auction company in the Western region behind the company that had laid us both off. They were huge. And we started taking a lot of their business. And so we started that, and we really had never done an auction. We were learning from our experience I was in marketing, he was in the closing department. So we combined that and it worked pretty well. And so well enough that the company that had laid us off, we were up against them on an auction, and they gave us 400 properties. They gave the company that laid us off 400 properties. And I was in Dallas, took the meeting in Dallas. When I was flying back, by the time I got back, our competition took our 400 properties for free just to keep us out of the market.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that cost them. So that's when I knew, I'm like, first of all, that hurt. Until you have a contract, don't get too excited. That was tough, but yeah, it's interesting time.
So these were properties that Freddie Mac or lenders had defaulted on and Freddie Mac had taken back?
Yeah. There was a ton of them. We had some RTC stuff, and we were doing banks, developers. Yeah, we were involved with the O.J. Simpson house out here too. And, we were supposed to get it. And then the guy that owned our company, it was Fred Sands. A lot of people have been in the business here in the 80s and early 90s. Remember the company Fred Sands. We ran his auction division for him. And so we were set to take it to auction. The Hawthorne Savings Bank said, "Let's get it auctioned. Let's get it off the books." And he said, "Okay, we're not going to auction it." And they had owed our company, the Sands Group, a marketing budget that was pretty substantial. He said, I'm going to forgive that, but I want you to give it to our top 4 agents on the residential side, and they're going to market it for the next 30 days, and then we're going to sell it. And I thought, that seems kind of odd, but the genius behind it was, and Fred was he was a penny pincher, and I'm like, I can't believe he gave that marketing money up. What he did was he was in front of a camera every day at that house on Rockingham for 30 days. Worldwide exposure for his company. It was worth millions. And so that was brilliant. I didn't understand it until I saw it happening. I'm like, oh, now I get it.
Free marketing. I love it.
Yeah. And they kept giving us auctions. So in the end, he got all that marketing and all of his money back in the end. It was a brilliant move. So he was just, when we're moving along slowly, Fred was here already thinking, and by the time you got caught up, he was gone. And it was amazing to watch somebody that's smart and understanding the marketplace and understanding marketing.
Yeah.
He really understood it and the value of it.
Yeah. Well, nowadays marketing is top notch. I mean, that's one of the first things you have to build when you're building your business, that marketing plan.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. If you have the best service or best product in the world, if nobody knows about it, you don't have a business.
That's right. Yep. All right, Joe. So you've built multiple companies to 8 figures without outside funding. What's the biggest mindset shift you had to make going from a broker to a builder?
Yeah. If hindsight, right? I think the first one was not knowing. That's why I started it, right? I was just like, okay, I didn't know what I was going to do. I just jumped in. And, between living in the office and then some pure luck, that combination, but I was always preparing for the next step. So like when this lady had called me about the auctions from Freddie Mac, I was ready for it. I mean, it wasn't a surprise. I'm like, okay, finally, I got my shot. And, we were prepared for it. We had everything in place, so it was ready to go. I don't even know why I did that, but I just knew that one time it was going to hit. I was making so many calls. I was in the office from 7:30 to 8. Like I said, it was a startup. Never done an auction in its life. But, learning that you have to be preparing for everything that's set to come and being organized for that in advance is key. And so when you get started and it starts coming in, you're not in panic mode playing catch up. And I think it was pure luck that got me to figure that out early on. But that was a big part of it, because when it hits, when you get 60 properties coming in and you have to take an auction in 3 weeks, if you're not ready for that, you're playing catch up already. So it's preparation. That's the main thing that I learned.
Nice. All right. 6,500 plus transactions, nearly 1 billion in deal volume. What deal or moment stands out the most and why?
There's quite a few of them, but for me, it was our first auction when we did those. That was such a relief. And then as we were doing, 6 different properties a year, that means we had a closing 1 or 2 a day. So we had to have a good escrow company. They're discounted commissions, keep in mind. I know it sounds incredible, like, oh, you must have made a killing, but we definitely did okay, but not like everybody think, because everything was discounted. So our first auction, working with the Boring Company here in LA, Elon Musk team reached out to us. So they are, I don't know if anybody will know what the Boring Company is, but they're actually digging underneath the roads. And they built a path down so cars can go down and ride that. It's no longer in LA. Lawsuits happened, couldn't make it happen here. They did it in Vegas. They're doing it in, I think, DC, and they're doing it in a few other places. But seeing how that was going to change the city of Los Angeles and the entire transportation system here. So that was probably number 2. And then number 3 hasn't happened yet, is we're working with a drone company, a human carrying drone company. And so you're going to be able to come into Los Angeles. You're going to be able to get on your phone. It'll be just like an Uber, right? You're going to be able to get on and say, okay, I need a car to an Uber or Lyft or whatever you use to this drone carrying company. You're going to be able to go in, you're going to be able to get in this drone that for the first 2 years is going to be manned, but after that, there won't be anybody flying the thing. It's going to be all automated. And it'll take you to certain destinations. So we had to work with the FAA figuring out flight plans, where they can go, how high they can go, all of that. And that was interesting. So we've found 8 locations for them that they're working on right now. And we're hoping they're launched by the Olympics. So it just takes a while. It's a lot of regulations since it's new that we had to figure out. And so that's up there as well.
Yeah, that one right there, that's going to be unique. I mean, because as more drone companies come into play,
Yeah.
Now you're really clogging up airspace and, so.
Yeah, they're going to limit it. It's going to be, so there's 200, the last number I looked, there's 250 companies, and some of them are big, that are making these drones, and some of them are pretty damn big. But so yeah, there's a lot of competition in that space. They've been doing it. This one was tested in Singapore, worked very, very well. They're using them in Brazil. They're going because the traffic in Brazil is just absolutely a mess. So it's been tested heavily, and so they've got it figured out. I think it'll be eventually where, I mean, can you imagine flying into LAX, getting into a drone and going up the coast in LA and all the way up to Santa Barbara or something? It's much quieter. There's between 9 to 12 propellers. So if you have failure on 2 or 3 of them, you're still good. Almost half of them could go out before you start, especially if they went out on one side. That'd be the problem. But yeah, so it's really, the future is looking very Jetson-ish.
It'll happen. I totally believe it. Yep.
Yeah.
So what were the first 3 moves you made in each of the $5 million companies that you've built in 18 months?
Putting the number one thing is putting the processes in place. You've got to have the process. Otherwise, the process and the team. You've got to have the right processes. If you don't have that in place and everybody's kind of going each way, business plan is where you're going to have to start. But you got to focus on the process right away and make sure that everybody's going in the same direction. If you don't have a plan in place, then you're going to have people running all over, and you have to have that. And then the team. You've got to make sure you're hiring the right team. And I see, especially in real estate, I see so many people just putting bodies in chairs. You want to put bodies in chairs that are going to help you move forward. And you don't want to just pick somebody and think that's what's going to grow. You want to interview until you find the right people. But processes and people, it's got to be your key.
Okay. So along that line, what mistakes do most commercial real estate entrepreneurs make when trying to scale their business or brokerage or investment firm?
Most of them, and I've interviewed quite a few of them. Okay. They want to go do something. There's no plan in place. And I'm guilty of it.
Yes.
So I ended up running the brokerage because I'd started a brokerage firm for a residential firm here in Los Angeles. They ended up selling. They called me on December 9th and said, listen, we're going to close the commercial division down. And I said, okay, well, we'll start making some moves, try to figure out what to do. They goes, well, you're not going to have time because January 1st, you have to be out of the office. I was up in Mammoth skiing. Fortunately, my business partner was with me. I said, okay, problem. We got to figure this one out. And so we've got 5 agents here, you and I, we're getting closed down in just a few days. What are we going to do? And I had my broker's license. So we ended up starting Commercial Brokers International. We immediately came home, got everything in place, registered the name, did everything. They ended up letting us stay in that office for a few months as we were building our current office out. So we put a really rough plan together. And that's why I know a plan is so important, because I went through it without a real plan in place, and we'd never done it before. And so it was a challenge. And so I always tell everybody, make sure that you've got something that you're following every day. You can update it as you go along, and you will update it, right? You're going to think, okay, this time frame is going to take longer. Let's add this. But at least it gives you an idea of where you're going with something. And I talk to so many people, they go, I just want to have my own firm. And I'm like, okay, well, these are all actually, I'm writing a booklet about it right now. It's going to go on the joekillinger.co. It'll be under Learn, is how to transition from being a broker to having your own firm. And it's a process we went through. I'm in the middle of writing it right now. I keep changing it. I come like, oh yeah, I got to have that idea too. I got to add it. But it's, I think in any business, if you don't have a plan that you're going through, you're working your way through, it makes it very hard. And so many young people are just saying, I'm just going to go be a broker. I'm like, okay, you've got to think about your systems, all the systems you're going to need that you're now going to be paying for. What kind of staff are you going to need? When are you going to need them? Because you're not going to need them right away. How long can you do the marketing yourself until you need to bring in a marketing person? What does the staffing look like? What does your agent profiles look like? All of that. A lot of them, their eyes kind of cross. You're like, man, I didn't think of any of this. I'm like, well, you want to.
Right. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm one of those ready, fire, aim guys. I want to just go do the thing that I want to do. Let me just go do that thing. Yeah. And then you find out down the road, you're like, okay, wait a minute, this is overwhelming now because I didn't put those processes, procedures together before I started to grow. I went and did the thing. Now what? How do I grow? Okay, I'm starting to see the revenue coming in.
Yeah.
Now what? So I definitely see that being one of the major mistakes.
Yeah, a lot of entrepreneurs are A-type personalities, right? And we just want to go, 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 go. We can go, go, go a lot better if there's a plan in place. And again, the team, you've got to surround yourself with the right people. I've made, when we first started, we were just kind of taking bodies and thinking that these people were trainable. A lot of them quit. And, we take our training in brokerage is a lot different than most. We do training every morning at 8:30 for 45 minutes. And then on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, we sit down with our new agents and go, okay, how's it going? Do you have appointments? How are the calls going? Okay, your hit rate's really low. Maybe tomorrow, let's sit down and let's do some role playing. Or your email's not working. Let me take a look at your emails. Let's figure it out with you. That would really help. Making sure you're giving time, creating time to really help the new agents get started. And that's a key. And that's something our industry is lacking, is training. And so that's also something we're working on. And it's key. You want to make sure you're giving everybody the best opportunity to be the best best agent they can be.
Okay. So, as I look behind you, I see the JK. So, and of course, I mentioned the joekillinger.co.
Yep.
So how do you approach building a real estate brand in today's ultra competitive digital landscape?
Being authentic. So many people, I think one of the biggest problems we have is we tend to look at other people and try and copy that. And they're not you, is a lot of the problem. You just got to do you. Do what you want to be. Do who you are. And we get lost in that. And because there's so much content coming at us every day, right? You're like, oh, that's interesting. And then the next day, something else is more interesting. You have to think about every interaction you have with the people around you. You want to bring them the most value. Well, you want to think about all of your branding. It just needs to really reflect the person that you are. That is your brand. And you want to make sure it's true, it's authentic, it brings the best Cedric that you can be, right? And that's what you want everybody to understand. And from the look of your website to the fonts that you use, it's very important. And making sure that your brand is the same everywhere. If it needs to be the same on your website as it is on LinkedIn, as it is on Instagram, as it is in your email header, it all needs to be spot on. But just being the best you can be is really something that I see that the real people that are winning in our industry on both sides, commercial and residential, they're the ones that are doing they're being authentic.
Yeah.
People can read it. People can read when you're not being authentic. I mean, they think that they're getting away with something. And, and here's the thing, in commercial real estate, Cedric, there's not a lot of people doing content creation. Right. So the younger generation, what a prime time to get into this industry and really take over a marketplace. If you know how to market yourself, you can go take over a market in a couple of years. If you're in your mid-20s, by the time you're in your mid-30s or even early 30s, people are going to be coming to you. Inbound leads are going to be coming to you because most of our industry is cold calling, networking, maybe email program once in a while or emails blast. But if you're doing all of that, plus writing a blog, plus content creation, which doesn't take very long if you do it right.
Right.
You got to get inbound leads as well as outbound calls going out and all that. It's a win-win. It's really not hard. And I see people that are making a lot of money that have only been in the business for a few years. I mean, we've got one young lady here. She's been in the business for 3 years. She's going to do $400,000 this year. Yeah, she's just following. She's got a plan. And I just did a short on the YouTube channel about her the other day because she used to sit right outside of this studio. She used to sit in a desk right outside. I'd walk out and she'd have Post-it notes everywhere on her desk. And I used to drive me insane. I'm like, oh my God, you're driving me. You're killing me with this. And I said, how are you going to grow if you don't get some focus on organization? She laughs about it now, but she used to get so mad. And she's got 3 international clients she's working with right now. So she doesn't have time to be writing Post-it notes. I still see them once in a while, but everything's in a system. I can ask her about a client. She'll go into her computer. She'll go down to a spreadsheet. Well, this one's doing this right. And she'll walk you through the whole thing. And she couldn't have done that if she wasn't organized.
We know you're going to like this episode. So please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel so you can be notified when the next episode drops.
Yeah.
You'll see right through it.
Yep, they will.
Yeah. So, what's your current investment thesis? How has it evolved over the last 10 or even 5 years ago?
We started in multifamily investments in low to moderate income areas in Los Angeles.
Mhm.
And probably the biggest mistake we made was our first one was a home run. The second one, I guess maybe we had a little ego. We bought a 3-story walk-up, 6-unit, and those 2 top units we couldn't keep them filled. Nobody wants to carry groceries up 3 flights of stairs. And a lesson learned. And we ended up getting out of that one, making just a little bit of money. So we started off multifamily, fixer-uppers. We moved out of Los Angeles into Dallas, Texas, and we're there a lot. And so we bought hundreds of units there, did the same thing. But we're now focused on single tenant net lease deals around the U.S. We're just getting ready. We're going to raise a fund here in the next probably 6 or 8 months, and then we're going to start buying single tenant net lease deals and start off with just building a base, buying just stabilized assets. But then we're going to go into some that are probably in the next fund or better returns. So they've got shorter term leases that we can go in and re-tenant or redo the lease. And so we're just going to stick with single tenant net lease for a while. We may dip our toe back into multifamily at some point. I mean, we're mostly focused in Dallas, but there's just a lot of oversupply coming online there. And so we're kind of sitting tight. And the same here. Los Angeles is very tough right now for multifamily. Not a lot of activity in the marketplace.
Yeah. I know a lot of people in your state. They are, Utah, Texas, and some other Midwestern, and even in Arizona, they're investing.
Yep.
On the multifamily side, I'll say.
Yep. We'll get people to reach and go, hey, I want to be in the no income tax states or the tax-free states. And, there's 9 of them. And you're like, okay, well, we'll try and find you something. So we're getting a lot of that. The activity's been a little bit slow for us, but, just understanding how to invest, very important. I think, we were talking before we came on, there were so many people that were buying when interest rates were so low and they were just investing because it was so low. And you're seeing those properties going back to the bank now, so having a good syndicator like yourself that has experience, it's key.
Yeah.
These people they were syndicating that had no experience, the horror story.
Yeah. And you see it every day.
Yeah.
And good people, bad business plan,
Yeah. Yeah. That was most of it. They really thought they were onto something. They weren't out trying to screw people, but they just didn't understand the business well enough. And these guys had raised a lot of money and they were just posting on social media everywhere. I just bought 40 units. I bought 100 units. Every couple of weeks, they were acquiring new properties and we don't see them anymore. So as an investor, you really want to make sure that, if you're going to go in with a syndication, you want to go in with somebody like you guys that have experience and a track record.
Yeah, 100%.
Not that's 6 months old. It's been around for a while.
All right, Joe. So you've been involved in every part of syndication pipeline. What's the most misunderstood part of syndications today?
I think as an investor, and I just had this conversation recently. So many people that are investing, they don't do, as I just touched on, they don't do the due diligence into the background of the people that are putting the syndication together. And I think, if I'm buying a stock, I'm doing research to see all about the company that I'm investing in. Why are people not taking some of these people that are running these syndications and doing background check, ask for references, and I think that is something that people are afraid to ask. I'm not sure why they don't ask, because I was talking to a syndicator and he said, yeah, people seldom ask. He goes, now the more experienced ones, I will get a call from one of our existing investors and they've done their due diligence on me. So I think a lot of it is just make sure you're doing due diligence on the people that you are syndicating with.
Okay. I agree with that.
And the syndicators should have all information out on their website about their past history, who they can contact. That would eliminate a lot of, go ahead and call them. These are the people. And if you want to contact them, I'll put you in touch. But I think that would be it, just being more transparent. I think transparency is a lot of it. People are afraid to ask for it.
Yeah.
And we as syndicators, we didn't even think about anybody having those questions. They just said, well, we've done it. So I think there's just kind of a miss there. That's what I saw in the past. I haven't done it for a while.
No, it's still basically the same way. And, in the multifamily space, I can definitely speak, there are certain operator groups that are out there that their track record speaks. It speaks for itself. And you can hear it from investors like myself who've been in the business, that can point you to these operators. And a person like me, I do due diligence before I even raise capital for my investors, for someone else. I make sure that I stick with these operators with that proven track.
Yeah. Yep. It's key.
Yep. So where do you see the biggest disruption or opportunity in commercial real estate now?
AI. I mean, we're running into tools that are phenomenal. And it's going to make it so, well, I shouldn't just say in commercial, in real estate, there's tools that are coming online that, I mean, I get emailed every day, so it gets a little overwhelming, but some of them, we just ran into one yesterday that we're booked on and we're taking it out to our agents. It pulls data. Let's say if you've got a client and you can put all their information in there. And then if there's ever an article written about them, or if they write an article, or there's something somewhere that they've done, it notifies you. And then you can reach out to that client and go, hey, I saw that and congratulations. And it makes staying in touch with people so much easier. It sets emails up. There's another one that we use it combs Yelp and all these other services and tells you all about for your retail agents. It'll give you all the information about these people, who they are, cell phone numbers that work, everything. And it's amazing. This technology, it's disrupting our industry. And, if you're not paying attention to it, you're going to get left behind because it's coming fast. It's just like a wave of it coming in.
Yeah. I mean, it is coming fast and hard.
Yes, it is.
And that's my thing for me and my business, trying to stay on task with it because I can't stay in front of it because it's ever changing every day. Yep. But I like that AI a project that you were just speaking of. If someone writes any content or something, blog, you name it, fires it right to your team. And that relationship is built strong because Sally reached out to me and was like, hey, Cedric, I saw your blog. I'm like, whoa, the thing just came out, and that's huge.
Yeah, for contact management, you put it in your contact management, or it partners up with your CRM. Yeah, it's just, and it'll feed information to your CRM. So now you've got that data in your CRM, because most people in real estate are not, in part of really growing your business, your CRM, your contact management system is so important because all your information's in there. Every contact you've had with a client, or if it's a new client you want to have, or a potential new client, you want to make sure you're putting all that data in there, because the call that you're on with them, you're going to have to refresh their memory. Like, we spoke last month and we talked about, and then that is going to give you a better opportunity. Any way to get yourself back in front of people and remind them about your relationship, staying in front of them, what drives this business.
Absolutely. Relationships.
Very important.
Yep. All right. So you've operated, like I mentioned, over 25 years in up and down markets. What do you look for to read a market?
Well, I'm fortunate because I can just walk out and talk to our agents, and I can see what's going on. And I've been in a business so long. I think a lot of it is first thing I do in the morning is I get up and have my coffee and I read all the business publications in commercial real estate, from Globe Street, globest.com, to BizNow, to Plain Vanilla Shell, QSR Magazine, FSR Magazine, Yahoo News, CNBC. I know that sounds like a lot, but once you've read them the first time, there's only a few pieces of new data in each one of those every day. So it doesn't really take that long. But staying on top of the market, being the most informed, because it kind of gives you a read of the market. And then looking at the cycles, how long is, you want to watch these cycles, because real estate typically, it's up there. There's cycles in the real estate industry, and paying attention to them, and also having this so I can pick up the phone and call brokers all around the country and have conversations with them and say, how's your retail going? How's your industrial going? Having those conversations is probably in real time, really in the marketplace. Because even some of those publications, they can be, the person that wrote the article can be trying to swing an opinion one way or another. So you got to be careful. But real-time conversations with people around the country, and that's why networking is so important. Networking with people in your industry, and not just in your market. Know what's going on in other markets.
Yeah. I literally just got back a couple of days ago from a self-storage conference, just so I can see what's going on in the marketplace. And like you said, new updates, AI technology, and things like that to just, try to stay ahead of what's going on. Yeah. wholeheartedly. So
Yeah, those conferences are good. They're great so I'm head of marketing for a commercial real estate influencer summit, and it's incredible. It's just, I'll learn a lot about the new AI coming out. This is in September. I've really learned how to market myself, but more importantly, it was the connections. Those connections are so important.
they are.
Yeah.
Totally agree. So how should newer agents think about pivoting when asset classes cool, say like office space, for example?
Right. Yeah, that's a tough one. It's before you even get into the business. I think you got to go back to that, is because a lot of people, they don't even know what asset class they want to get into, right? And I always tell them, like, listen, you can come in. I want you to sit down. I want you to go into our system. If it's going to be for industrial, AIR, CoStar for retail, office, and all that, I want you to go into an area that is either near your house or near the office or between them. I want you to comb and look and see which asset class is having good activity, and make sure that the activity is enough to support the lifestyle that you want to lead. Because if there's a good activity, but it's industrial, it's $1 a square foot, and the average size is 5,000 square feet, well, you're not going to make much of a living there. And so maybe you want to do office in that, or retail in that market that's at $5 a foot. Average size is 4,000 square feet. You can make some good money, and there's good activity in both those markets. Really look at the marketplace. But if you're going to pivot, you want to just start doing that. When you start feeling that your asset class is not going to be going to provide you the level of income that you want, then you want to start just looking at the marketplace, going, if I'm in the market, now if you can stay in that same market where you've been marketing already and pivot to a new asset class, and maybe keep some of the office still, stay in touch with them, but maybe you're doing retail in that same market, and you can work referrals back and forth with those people, or have conversations with them about what's going on in that marketplace. And, you really want to try and eliminate you don't want the friction of going to another market and starting all over. If you can stay in that marketplace and find another asset class, but study the market. What asset class has got the most activity, and is it the right size? What kind of money is being traded? Yeah. You really want to start your career that way. Really have an idea, and then sit down and talk to other brokers. We all, as brokers, we just love to hear ourselves talk anyway. So, sit down and talk to brokers and ask them, what are your thoughts, your management, or, there's going to be somebody where most people are going to be willing to talk to you and help.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to your network, as you just mentioned, going to these conferences, that network, just going back to it 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. The conferences are important. I mean, I was talking to an agent. The ICSC conference was just this last week, and a new agent went to there, and I'm like, why did you go? You spent thousands of dollars. And she goes, well, I was going to get business from them. I'm like, no, you're not. You're going to make connections there with brokers, but you're not going to just walk into a Jack in the Box and they're going to give you business when you're brand new and you don't have any business right now. So be thinking about the conferences that can really bring you value. For example, the CREI Summit one that's ideal for making connections and learning how to market yourself. There's all these other conferences. Just make sure you're getting a good return for your money, and make sure the connections that you're getting are what you really need.
All right. Yeah, you just mentioned marketing. So you're not just closing deals, you're creating content, running a YouTube channel, and mentoring the next generation. Why is content such a key part of your business strategy?
It brings in a lot of business for our company. We worked on our SEO 19 years ago. We started working on it.
Wow.
And everybody's like, what is that? I'm like, you know what? We don't really know, but we're learning it as we go. And then we hired a kid out of Craig McElvain, which if you need a great marketing person, I'll connect you with him. He's great. He came out of USC with his master's in the psychology of marketing or something like that. So what the colors, the design of your website and your all of your digital marketing campaigns and content really got a big lesson in that. And so we started doing it. And then next thing you know, we started getting business coming in from other countries, and leads started coming in locally. And so putting it out there, it started driving inbound leads. And we're like, well, this is not a big time suck. It's really something that the revenue that it's generating is just extra income we weren't planning on. So pretty amazing the way we learn that it'll bring that business into you. And then if you do content that can be evergreen, that people are going to see years down the road, Google your name in 5 years and content you wrote 5 years ago is still there. adds a lot of value. So we just saw the value of it early on. I'm shocked that there aren't more commercial real estate agents creating content and putting it out there. It's amazing to me.
Yeah, it's probably, just because the way the industry is about ground and pound, pick up the phone, make the calls instead of being out front and in front of people. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I'm not really.
Well, it's got to be, in what other business would you just sit and cold call all day, every day that's successful?
Right. Yeah. Not nowadays.
None. There's none. They're all out there marketing. Do a combination of it, of the cold calling, the networking, and then the content creation, email. And if you have a website and you don't have a blog on your website, you're going to increase your traffic to your website by about 55% by just having a blog on there that brings value that you're posting on every week. Huge traffic. Yep. And it's not that much work. Hire somebody to write 4 articles for you about your marketplace. Make sure everything you're doing is bringing value to your people. It's not difficult. And watch your revenue go up. It'll take a while. It doesn't happen overnight,
right.
but it's in its infancy stages in commercial real estate. Great time to capitalize on it.
That's right. Hey, Joe, so what's one piece of content you created that really surprised you in terms of engagement or impact?
What I thought was a boring story about a client and how we met up with the client, how we handled the client. And I was just kind of writing it down. I just decided to post it, and it just blew up. And I'm like, why would that? But we got a couple calls off of it even. But what I now know is there's a book that Edward Winslow, I call him Ed. I've known him for a while now. So I think he goes by Edward Winslow if you check out his book, but it's on proof stacking. So when you do a transaction, you want to write it down and tell about the process, how the client found you, how you went through the process with the client, the highs and lows of working with the client, and the end result, and maybe even what you could have done better or what you did, you made a mistake or how you overcame and how the objections. Write the story down. And it turns out proof stacking is a real thing. Edward wrote a whole book about it. And so you might want to check out his book. Again, it's Edward Winslow. And the guy that's really good about proof stacking is Bob Knakal out of New York City, Knakal. He does proof stacking content all the time. He's partners with Ed Winslow. And I think Bob has done 20-some billion in transactions. So he's made a little bit of money.
Just a little bit.
Exactly. And he's got his own company again. He alone is just an incredible story and an incredible human being. I've watched him, he's a guy that's made a lot of wealth for himself, and he was in an event I was at, and I was just kind of standing in the back watching him, and I saw some new people going up to him, and the true measure of somebody is how they'll treat everybody. And let's see how he's going to treat these newbies. And he treated them the same as the big guy that he had just been talking to. And that's class. And so nothing but good words to say about him.
Like that.
Yeah. Impressive man.
Yeah.
Should check him out.
Again, you've been in commercial real estate for over 30 years. How do you stay sharp, energized, and ahead of the curve?
For me, it's the people that I have in our office. I love being in the office with them. They're just great people. We've been very active in making sure that our company culture is where it needs to be. So everybody has this free sense of communication, open door policy. And the communication we have between us really keeps me on top of what's going on in our marketplace. And I just want to learn more. I'm watching podcasts, I'm watching YouTube videos. I just don't ever want to stop learning, and I'm reading books as much as I can. And so that for me is, I just have the passion for this industry because I see how it's created a lot of freedom for a lot of people and how they've, and I enjoy that.
Okay. Now, again, you've been in there for a while. So what legacy do you want to leave behind for the next generation of agents, investors, and entrepreneurs coming up?
Our big focus is, so we have a foundation called Wire Foundations. It's Women in Real Estate. And so we try to help young women. In commercial real estate, it's still kind of a good old boys network. It's transitioning, it's evolving, but we always want to help women get into our industry. And we have a real focus on that. We'll help them find mentors that can really help them and really get them grounded and find good path for their career. But I would just, for me, the whole joekillinger.co thing was about giving back, because I just have so much stuff on the website that there's books that you can read, there's templates that you can use, all of it's free. For me, it's about moving our industry forward. And because it's kind of an old, For years, it was the old white guys industry, right? And it's evolving. I still think the average age, last I heard, was around 55 years old. But you're seeing more diversity coming into the industry, and I want to really try and help push that forward. And we're having some pretty good success. I'm mentoring some amazing young people. It's just you've really seen an evolution in the last couple of years. These younger people, the younger generation, they want it. And matter of fact, they're like us, Cedric. They want it now. I'm like, slow your roll. And so, but they were born with these things in their hands, so they know how to market themselves.
Absolutely.
And they'll walk in and say, "Hey, have you tried this yet?" I'm like, "Nope, but sit down here and show me what I need to learn," and they'll do that. And so, but I just want to be remembered for what we're about and how we brought a lot of people into the industry.
I like it. Well, as we start to wrap this up, just got a couple of quick lightning round questions for you. And
I'm terrible at these.
All right. So what's a book or podcast that changed your business mindset?
I have a few, and this is a residential agent. A lot of people heard of Ryan Serhant, and he's entertaining, good advice. And I pick up some tips from him, and it's on the residential side typically, but I do enjoy his. But there's also a podcast. It's Diary of a CEO. Stephen Bartlett is a young guy out of the UK. I think it's a top podcast in the UK right now. And I watched him when he had his first company called Social Chain, and he put a YouTube channel out, and now he's huge. He's on the Dragon's Den over there, which is the Shark Tank of LA. So he has a podcast, very informational. I listen to his as much as I can, but I listen to pretty much. There's a ton of them in our industry that I'll just pick, and it depends on the topic, right, what I'm looking for. And so there's a lot of good ones out there. What you want to watch out for if you're looking at podcasts is those that come out and say, "I made $1 million in my first week," or those kind of things, those headlines. Just move on from them. Go with somebody that is, because it's not going to happen in our industry. No, you're not going to make $1 million unless something incredible happens. But focus on people with real information that have experience in it, because I see so many people with podcasts or YouTube channels that are out there putting content, but if you look at what they've done, they haven't accomplished anything. They should not be sitting in front of a mic talking about their experience. They should be going out and building that experience and then coming back and doing that, because you hear some of the things they're saying, you're like, I can tell you haven't done this before.
Okay. Now, craziest thing that has ever happened in a deal?
Well, probably the saddest is we had a deal going where the young guy was riding his motorcycle to go sign a contract, and he didn't make it. And so his family went ahead and closed the deal. Probably the most shocking was that, because I can tell you right where I was sitting the day that, because he was just such an amazing person, but his family closed the deal, and they ended up selling the house at a later date. But as far as the craziest, probably working with the boring company and going through contract with them a few times and negotiating with them. They weren't in real estate, they were in tech. Explaining that and getting the deal done was very difficult. But I've never seen young people that were so damn smart. You could tell them something, they didn't understand real estate. The next day you'd see them, they completely understood it. They must have stayed up all night studying it. But that was one thing that just always stood out.
Yeah. I could imagine that, I mean, that's what I see nowadays with all of these, what are they, Gen Z? It's like, oh my gosh, like they pick things up so fast, and come right back with the answers, like you said, It's a different level.
The success that they can create for themselves is limitless. They've got the powers there, the brain power is there, the drive is there. Yeah. What I'd give to be their age again. A few less gray hairs.
There you go. I'm right there with you. I'd have hair then. So one habit or routine you swear by for success?
Structure. I just was talking to somebody last night. She said, "Man, your structure is," I'm very structured in everything I do. When you have multiple companies and a good number of people helping you operate them, they have to understand where you're at any given time. If they are looking for you, then you're creating work for everybody else. So structure for me is, and that's part of the plan. that needs to be one of the first thing in your plan to grow your business is your daily structure. And, I'm actually going to put a thing up on the website here in the next week or so. It's a daily structure for agents. And because I think it's key. If you're going to cold call from 10 to noon, or if you're going to be and returning calls, just have that structure so you can follow it, and it's going to breed success for you.
Right. Well, Joe, it has been a blast having you as our guest today. As we close out, please tell our listeners where we can learn more about you, get in touch with you, and learn about all the fabulous things you have going on right now.
You can see right behind me, joekillinger.co. That's the website, or you can go on YouTube just under my name, Joe Killinger. You can contact me there, and we will get back to you. If you're getting into the industry and you have questions, we're happy to answer it. Or if you're looking for a brokerage somewhere in the U.S. that you want to be part of, don't hesitate to reach out. Just DM me or contact me and email me, and we'll try and get you squared away.
Awesome. Joe, again, I want to thank you for your time today and all the wisdom you have provided to my listeners. It's greatly appreciated. And I want to thank you, our fans, for tuning in to another Service to Syndication Real Estate Podcast, where we want to provide value to you in your investing business. Please tune into our next episode, where we will have another fantastic real estate professional. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Service to Syndication Podcast. We want you to know that we love and appreciate your support, and we are grateful about being a part of your journey to becoming a successful real estate entrepreneur. Please share this episode with a friend who you think will get a lot out of what you just heard. Send it to someone who you know is interested in real estate and dreams of having it all and being the best they can be in all areas of life. And if this was really valuable, share it on your social media stories and timelines. Thank you for watching and listening. Now go be great.